Side street began to rival the glitz of Broadway itself. The marquees were ablaze with the greatest theatrical luminaries of the day. In the 30s, the theater was suffocating under the weight of the Great Depression. But there to take its place was burlesque, especially at the El Tinge.
I worked 5 years at the Empire Theater, known as the El Tinge at that time. And I became a burlesque queen, and also known as the Ball of Fire.
But even burlesque couldn't survive the Depression, and the street continued its dark descent into the prostitution and drug trades of the 1980s. Once a glorious palace for the public, the El Tinge, now the Empire, was in its final stages of decay.
I worked with the famous Abbott and Costello, of course. They weren't famous then, but they certainly are now.
Bud and Lou met here in 1935 with other partners and got the opportunity to work together for the first time on the stage at this theater.
Lou always wanted to work with my dad because my dad was known as one of the best straight men. My father taught Lou most of the burlesque routines.
Lou begins to tell me about this who's on first, without Bud Abbott, of course. He's saying who's on first and what's on second. I'm listening with courtesy. And he went up through the whole thing. And then we're on the other side of the river, and he said, well, what do you think of it? And I said, I had the audacity when I think of it. I said, it needs work.
Who? The guy on first. Who? The guy playing first base. Who? The guy on first. Who is on first? What are you asking me for? I'm asking you.
New York is the mecca of the world in a lot of ways. And they're coming to the big city to have that inversion of the pastoral and the urban. And you're not going to get it like this anyplace else. It smacks you right in the face.
There was a lot of hookers, a lot of hustlers, drugs, crack, everything. You name it that was on this corner.
There's almost nothing left of the drug dealers and the porn shops. Thank goodness they're gone. Most of them are gone, and that one down there is going to go as soon as the Court of Appeals upholds our law to get rid of these sex shops.
I guess Giuliani will probably take a lot of credit for it.
Part of the problem was that it was a plan about cleanup and not about the soul of 42nd Street and what 42nd Street meant to the American public.
The state and city invested $75 million in condemnation procedures and land acquisition, but we have leveraged on the part of the private sector more than $1.5 billion in private sector development.
We made Disney an offer to renovate the New Amsterdam Theater that they couldn't refuse, as they say. It was the offer they couldn't refuse. They came to see it, and a week later we offered them an $11 million loan. In the end, of course, being Disney, it became a $26 million loan, but it was worth every nickel.
I looked at it as a tremendous opportunity. To be able to develop 360 feet on 42nd Street seemed to me to be something that would really work. Our company and I like to do, I think, different development and difficult development.
The city had been negotiating with American Multi-Cinemas to do a flagship theater, but Forest City had a problem.
In Manhattan, it's never been done before. It's known as the oldest recycling profession, moving buildings. So what we felt is just to move the building was easier than dismantling it and taking it apart and reassembling it.
By March 1st, 1998, the permits were delivered, and the 4,000-ton boxcar was ready to roll. Abbott and Costello were pumped.
A hot air balloon flew over my cousin's house out in the country. We both said, that's a neat thing to do. So we just went and designed one, made it, wove a wicker basket for it, and then took off.
They are staggering 6 hours to move 3,700 tons, 100 and very slow.
When they made the movie a few years ago, The Empire Strikes Back, they didn't know that there'd be a sequel called The Empire Moves Back.
That was an amazing thing. They lifted up the whole building and, you know, moved to like 3/4 of a block. You know, it was pretty wild.
Look, the theater got moved Sunday morning, didn't it?
Yes, it did. It was done by noon.
Essentially, we're moving this 4,000-ton boxcar on these steel tracks down the block.
The Empire Theater began moving at the rate of 1 foot a minute down 42nd Street.
And it was a party atmosphere as the Empire made its move.
I got an MRI scan. They found a brain tumor there. The doctors said, you have to do chemotherapy now or else you may not live another year.
When you have a child who is ill, I just think that a mother will do anything. Anything.
We do know that people can alter the constituents of their blood to some degree through their imagination.
I go inside and I talk to my cells and ask them to do things to make me feel better.
I realized that I had responsibility to every cell in my body.
Visualize a different existence, a different pattern of behavior, starting to retrain my brain.
It's often been said that we use only 10% of our brain. We can change the physical behaviors of our body through changing those stored images.
In April of '96, I was diagnosed with full-blown AIDS. It was a process, it was a learning experience, learning to release and let go of negative energy and to process it and to accept suffering and to actually find meaning in it. I mean, there is great joy in every moment of life.
Live today like there's no tomorrow.
Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. There will be an answer, let it be.
We have the ability, if we choose, to be in charge of our own life.
The chance that we